Greetings, I am Rad Chad, the Mad Lad, and to some of you, not all of you, but to some of you, your dad. And have you ever noticed that gender in fighting games? I know, unbelievable. Fighting games are very focused on characters' expression, their personality, the way they hold themselves, their drip, their undeniable drip. And an aspect of every human being that exists is that they gender. At least one gender. You know, don't get too greedy with your genders, just fucking have a whole plate full of genders, goddamn. Save some for the rest of us. So naturally, this influences characterization. The interesting dynamic with fighting games, however, is that the act of fighting is seen as dumb big man thing. It is commonly seen throughout history that men like to hit each other over the head with big rocks. But fighting games has become this great equalizer by including women who could crush your skull with their thighs. It's a great equilibrium, right? Right? Well, no, my sweet fuck. In fact, I've noticed some odd trends with the genders in fighting games. For an essay in my university course, because I'm a big-ass nerd with a big ass, I wrote on gender in fighting games. I've distilled that essay into a fine paste, then threw a couple of eggs at it, some protein powder, and as a cherry on top, a cherry on top, then split an atom. So, while this is inspired by a time that I was big brain, I am now mentally deranged brain. So try to keep up with my insanity. Let's explore the world with they/them. Look at impressive gender neutral, and suckle on some footsies. This is Gender in Fighting Games. Oh, hello there. Like and subscribe right now, and support me on Patreon! Now, a real quickie for any libtards watching. Gender is the social and cultural expectations of the gender identities, which sounds a little circular, but gender identity is a self-identified gender identity of the, whatever. Here's a paragraph of me from the past. He's smarter, he made a more interesting. Just pause, read it, it's good anyway. Where the common libtard usually gets confused is distinguishing gender from sex. The difference between gender and sex is something I want to do. Please. You know what? Fuck you. You know what gender means. I ain't here to hold your hand. You know what you are. You know you want to stick your pee-pee in. And if you don't have a pee-pee, you know what you want to stick your fagooba in. And if you don't have a fagooba, I am so sorry. With gender out of the way, let's get into men. Wait, no. What did I notice when staring longingly at men and their bodies? Well, the first thing I picked up on is that every single fucking man in fighting games is buff. They all take steroids. Every single one. They cannot be allowed to be weak. For example, Ed, my boy Eddie, the Edster himself. Look how fucking massive his biceps are. Guess what he looked like days before he was playable? He was a little twink man. He was a child. He was a teenager. He was a hoodie man. But when he was put into the game, he was turned into a buff monstrosity. Because they can't let anyone that isn't buff into a fighting game. Like, men just do not have muscles, you know what I mean? The only real, example of a fighting game that doesn't make every single man horrifically muscled is BlazBlue, and don't get me started on BlazBlue. They don't have the best man moot skill over there. He is not the best man, I'll be honest. But BlazBlue has very good diversity in its male body types, and it makes sense for the characters that have them. Like the buff characters are big, strong unga bunga men, while the less buff characters have ways to make up with their magical powers. But I hear you screaming in the audience at the top of your lungs, but surely they need muscle to fight good. Don't you ever fucking speak up ever again in your life. Fighting game is a genre where literally anyone is viable. Everyone. A paraplegic can fight the strongest being in the universe, and it would be a 7-3 matchup in the paraplegic's favor. It doesn't matter how their body is made up. It could be anything. They could be a fucking toaster. Whenever a character is weaker, they make up for it in other ways. If we looked at realism in fighting games, fists should always lose to gun. That may be true in Guilty Gear Strive. Happy Curse may kill everyone with his gun, but Noelle is bottom tier and she has gun, so you know, there's that. And not only that, not everyone in fighting games is even muscled. Not even in the games where every single guy is muscled. Because, for instance, the other half of the characters in the games have boobies. Here's my question. Where's all the muscle for the ladies? Look at all these women, they all have the exact same body type. Fun fact, did you know women have different body types? And if we were going to buy the argument that fighting game characters need to be muscled, then why aren't the women muscled at all? Bing bong, additional point, have you noticed that all the fat characters are men and none of the female characters are allowed to be fat either? Men are allowed this wide variety of different body types. When it comes to women, no, they must have the same figure. The same thing happened with Ed, but in the opposite direction with women, because Makoto was moderately dressed. In fact, covered up more than any other character in BlazBlue lore, like actual just blanky mode. And then as soon as she was playable, boom, all her clothes have disappeared. Literally naked. If I had to think about it in the past, the only actual like big lady that we've had, which isn't just supermodel looking, is Shiva. And she's like a demon alien thing. And the rest of her species are even bigger than her. They're humongous. Their thighs could crush a metal ball, let alone a skull. But recent ladies in fighting games have been big good. They have been good big. For instance, Marissa in Street Fighter 6 subverts this body type problem completely by being fucking huge. And the new Street Fighter is absolutely impeccable with diverse body types, especially for the women. Not for the men. All of the men are still muscled. Every single man in Street Fighter 6 is muscled. Why is KP muscled? Why does he need to be muscled? And let's not forget that there is one muscle lady, the queen of gender, the greatest character of all time that we need to mention. La Diva. She breaks all expectations of muscles by being a huge beefcake in all regards, while fully identifying as a woman, having a good dose of feminine charm, and being respected as the sexy hot chick she is. La Diva is queen shit, okay? We stand La Diva. I'm gonna talk about big characters, the massive lads. Now you might be asking, wait, didn't we just talk about big characters, the massive lads, in terms of ladies and men? Well, I'm talking about the really fucking big lads, the humongous beings, the beings that dwarf all others. And usually this archetype is reserved for like the grapplers and men. For instance, Waldstein, Gold Lewis, Abigail. I won't reiterate the big ladies we've mentioned before and love, but they are the exception in terms of big characters. But a lot of the times when girls are in the big character role, they have to have help being big. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't, because you're cutting me off. Let me fucking talk, please. For instance, Catherine and Kira from Arcana Heart. This game is fucking sus, by the way. One of them is in a huge robot, and one of them is in a huge slime, but the lady themselves is tiny, comparatively. To become big, they needed something to be in. Not to mention, even a queen in our own Guilty Gear is an example of this. Come, she wears a big being to be bigger, in a masculine body to become a big character. It's almost poetic. And as I said in the previous section, the mold is being broken. For instance, with Marissa, she is constituted as a big character in Street Fighter 6. And of course, we need to bring up once again our Queen La Diva, coming in from downtown to decimate you with a huge, beautiful form. Crush me, mother dearest. Only men are the freak or monster characters, like Voldo or half the cast of Street Fighter 3, or those massive weirdos from Tekken. They're all men. None of them are women. None of them are girls. You don't see freaky ladies. And when there are freaky ladies, they are either hot and have like a small deformity, like Melina. Oh my god, she gives bad head. Or they are a vagina monster. For instance, Double from Skullgirls is a vagina monster. But whenever we make a freak character, it's always a guy. Come on. Sure, at least one freaky lady. Can we have a freaky lady, please? Can we have an Arakune lady or something? Come on. We've identified some commonalities in fighting game characters. But, and this is a huge but, a massive, humongous, sexy but. What about characters that don't conform to this? What are the big three of non-conformity to gender E? They are the femboys, the masculine girls, and the LGBTQs. These three groups are underrepresented, and I want them to be represented more. And why is this important? Why is it important to have this diversity? Because we have a variety of people existing in our world, so we want a variety of people kicking our asses. For my example of a feminine man, I want to talk about a character I know like nothing about, but appreciate nonetheless. Ash from King of Fighters. Or should I say Ass from King of Fighters, am I right? What they did is actually unprecedented. A lot of like Disney villains, a lot of villains from like the 80s or 90s were very coded gay, very feminine men. Like for instance, Hades from Hercules, and so we have this association with like very fruity villains. So what they did with King of Fighters is they were like, this archetype people are used to, how about we just make that the main character, the hero of the story, a very feminine man who is coded to be a villain as the protagonist and main character, wholly based. That is unprecedented. I don't think I've ever seen that before, and a way to play on the expectations of how we've been experiencing media. I'm in love with that. That is some king shit right there. Not only that, but it is unprecedented to have a gender non-conforming main character of a fighting game. So, talking about masculine women, but Rad Chad, haven't you talked about masculine women for far too long in this video, to the point that it is kind of suspicious?
Listen here, you son of a bitch, shut the fuck up, okay? I don't want you to question a single thing about me. You don't know me, okay? You don't know what I like. I just appreciate beefy women, okay? Huge women, massive women, like La Diva. We stand La Diva.
Those women are big women. Those are massive, huge women. La Diva is feminine as fuck, okay? Let's look at a different way of looking at masculinity. Let's look at the opposite of La Diva, actually. An incredibly feminine body, but an incredibly masculine character. Baiken. In every way that isn't her body, she is incredibly masculine. The way she walks, the way she talks, the way her face disintegrates into chalk. It's all masculine, haughty-taughty, strutting and scowling. And even being a Ronin is an inherently masculine role. There was significantly more male samurai than female samurai. She's also even referred to using masculine pronouns in Japanese. And she even says she isn't a woman. But she is. She identifies as female, okay? It's just thematic, okay? It is thematic. She is more saying that she's given up on feminine aspects of her life. Also, when talking with good friend Marcy, go follow her on Twitter if you like boobs. What she discussed with me was quite intriguing. Anji is the perfect foil to Baiken. So Anji has a very masculine body compared to Baiken's very feminine body. But Anji has more femininity and elegance. Dancing, flowers and shit. And his role is of a dancer, which is the opposite of Baiken's role as a samurai. Usually those gender roles would be reversed. It's almost like Baiken is the husband and Anji is the wife. He's like, Baiken, can you please put your gross fucking robes in the wash? And then Baiken doesn't care. She just wants to chug beer and watch the footy with the bitch might break. We can't talk about the LGBTQs without bringing up maybe the first trans character ever in fighting games. That's right, I'm going to talk about Poison from Street Fighter and Final Fight. Now, the history of Poison is a bit weird, so bear with me as I try to untangle this mess of a character. So, in the original Final Fight, in the Japanese version, Poison was actually cis, but then the creators were like, Americans, for some strange reason, don't like punching women in the face, unlike us based Japanese people. So, the geniuses behind the game made Poison transgender so the Americans wouldn't feel as bad for punching them, which is fucked up, but it doesn't even matter, because then the Americans still cut out Poison. But this means that the Americans recognized Poison as an authentic woman, making them severely based. But wait, the tomfoolery with this character is not done yet. The designer behind Poison mentioned that Poison is trans in the American version, but not in the Japanese one. Like, they're two different characters. This ain't Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, my man. These are localizations. But then finally, after joining Street Fighter, a Street Fighter div was like, guys, no, just the trans, okay? The transgender. Just calm down, guys. So, while Poison's road is very rocky, you must admit, they sure were one of the first transgender characters in games, for better or for worse. Fun fact, by the way, in my original essay, I actually talked about Bridget as an example of a feminine man, but how times have changed. I won't talk about Bridget here too much, even though she is more gender than any other character in existence, because I made a whole video on that, and you could watch that over there, just up there in the corner. Once you're done with this video, go watch that one. I want to quickly mention a point in that video that I did leave out and that I want to really quickly bring up, because while there's a lot of cringe meisters which bring this up as a gotcha, I know that there are some good faith people who question this, which is, doesn't her changing her gender identity negate the message she portrayed in XX? And I've now worked out a good way to explain why not. First off, Bridget's story in XX is correct. It is hella based to prove the village expectations wrong, because it's like, the moral of her story in XX is societal gender expectations are cringe, because they are cringe. However, the nuance comes in Strive, where the fact your identity shouldn't be based off of anything external. She shouldn't be a girl because the village believes in a curse. She shouldn't be a boy because she needs to prove it wrong and make her parents feel better. And my favorite detail about her arcade mode in Strive, she comes to the same conclusion that you might after you've seen the XX story mode, before Daddy Kai and Daddy Goldlewis come in to be the best dads in existence. Because what she asks herself is, isn't it wrong to want to be a girl because she lived her life to prove her village wrong? Because she put all of this effort into having people see her as a boy? And the answer to that is fuck no. There should never be a reason for your identity. You should live comfy, fuck babes, evade taxes. You might be wondering why I have used Guilty Gear characters as example here a lot. This is because Guilty Gear is the gender game. Anyway, Testament. Testament has no gender. They are complete, they are only aesthetics. They're just vibes. This wasn't even like new to Strive. Even early on, Daisuke said something to the effect that Testament has no gender. Testament has transcended humanity, just like me. So Daisuke is a non-binary icon confirmed? Testament's design is really well done with making them androgynous, the standout feature being the masculine top hat and the feminine skirt. However, if I did have one critique of Testament, and hey, whoa. Listen, I know there's a lot of gender in my comment section, but hear me out. Listen, I have a critique of Testament. Even though we love Testament, I have a critique. It would be that Guilty Gear Strive, it tends to have only two body types, muscles and thighs, and they were too afraid to make it an actual androgynous body type, so they chose a option and they chose thighs. And this idea that they only have two body types in Strive is reinforced with Testament's Strive concept art, because the alternative design they made was Testament being a beefcake, so there was no in between. It either was thighs or hugely muscled. However, if Testament was muscled, it would go in line with Testament's love for wrestling, confirming that they would be really good friends with La Diva. Woo! In conclusion, if I need to sum up every point I made in this video, we need bigger and more sillier girls, and we need weaker and sexy men. Also, more LGBTQs, please. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. If you would like some gender punch, it's over by the door. If you disagree with any of my points, you were just wrong, because I'm pretty sure my essay got a pretty good score. This is backed up with a reputable source. It's me. I am the source. I am the raw source. I'm the source master.